Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Jenetta Barry, and our show today is Talking Heads. Now, I'm an expert presenter on today's topic, which is dealing with the fantasies and nightmares of romantic relationships. And so, to quote Albert Einstein, you can't blame gravity for falling in love. And I love that one, because what we're going to talk about today is exactly about that. Because have you noticed how at the beginning of a new relationship, the very thing or things you admire and love, and you just feel, wow, that person is so amazing. And so much about that person you're in love with can be the very thing that after a time becomes what you dislike or hate the most about them. And that I have seen happen again and again, not only personally in my romantic relationships, but with the many couples I help to either be able to bridge what happens there or decide they are actually not, they're not suited to each other and to comfortably part ways with lots of love. And there's no coincidence that this happens, because there's a reason for that happening. And it starts with understanding that the old adage, people say, oh, opposites attract. Well, they really do attract. It's more accurate than most realize, because any traits or any qualities that we either judge or admire in ourselves. So if we judge that there are certain things in us that we are not capable of being or doing, we're going to admire it outside ourselves and put somebody on that pedestal and go, whoa, they've got them, I haven't. Or the other way around, we admire them in ourselves, and then we see people are lesser than ourselves because they're not meeting the high standard we believe that we're able to reflect. Now, any time that happens where we see either more or less in ourselves than in others, it reflects back on us as we attract people and circumstances into our lives that portray those very traits we either pride in ourselves or the very traits we perceive we inadequately own. And when I first studied this and sat down with it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I was going, oh my word. Now, interestingly enough, in my first husband, I had a husband that was charming, witty, life and soul of every party. He and I met on stage. We were the leads in a theatrical production. So whenever we were at parties, we were always singing with the guitar together. He was just so amazingly funny. And that's what I loved about him. And then the next time, knowing he was also quite a womanizer, the ladies loved him. He was a very, very funny man. The next one was more serious and down to earth. And although he had a sense of humor, he was absolutely opposite. At one stage where we had a family gathering where both these men were present and needed to be, people hadn't met the one and knew the other, and they were going, you married the sun the first time and the moon the next. That was me trying to balance out all that I'm talking about, where I realized that I had some sort of imbalance, and I thought changing to the opposite type of personality would sort it out. Meanwhile, it was about me working on my judgments and my fears and my perceptions about myself. Because anything we judge in ourselves as being inadequate, or we judge in ourselves as being superior, we will attract people and circumstances into our lives to become our inadvertent teachers, to embrace and own those parts of ourselves that we perceive are not either not there or are more there than they really are. So these external reflections, either the blaming or the admiring other people and circumstances, can complement who we are, but can also create distortion. And thus it ends up blinding, blocking, and distorting us from stepping into our own true wisdom and genius, who we all authentically really are. And our romantic relationships are our prime tutors. Even besides our family, and I can't tell you what my children have taught me, especially my daughter Jenny, who's passed on. Also amazing tutors, but romantic relationships are our prime tutors, with more often than not the volume dial turned up on whatever it is we are perceiving, we are experiencing. And those relationships assist us to truly learn about our personal fears and judgments. In other words, what we admire in our partner is a reflection of traits that we perceive we don't have or don't have enough of in ourselves. And whatever traits we judge in them as being unacceptable is a true reflection of where we are in denial of portraying those same trait or traits. And it's quite a thought to think that it all comes down to us balancing out our perceptions of ourselves to be able not only to attract a person or people into our lives that are more in line with those balanced opinions of ourselves, or our balanced feelings about ourselves, our balanced thoughts, but also endorse who we are, rather than pull us away from who we are. And after a period of time, the balance of these extreme thoughts and emotions swing into being infatuated, into being repulsed in the other direction, like a pendulum. And the very traits and qualities we admired in them, then they become the most disliked and sometimes even despised. And the key here is in understanding that one has a choice in working this lover's dance. That's why I use the Argentinian tango so much to depict this as well, because it is about attraction and repulsion and attention and release, and one foot and then the other foot. And it's a dance that depicts the lover's dance so well. And when you can use that choice in working this lover's dance, you can say, okay, I'm going to do it in a day, or days, or weeks, or months, or years, or even a lifetime. And I decided it was going to happen sooner than later. And applying the Epiphany series of questions gives us the choice on what period of time we want to work through these perceptions of ourselves. And in order to birth ourselves, I really did rebirth myself over 6 years into new levels of empathy and understanding, and the ability to create new powerful conversations with our lovers. And that's what I've been able to do. It doesn't mean we don't have our times of dissension. My husband and I have them. It doesn't mean that it eliminates that. It means that we approach them in new ways. Ways that aren't in, you say a horrible thing, I'll say a horrible thing. You be this, I'll be that. Or how dare you? Or so when we come out of being protective of ourselves and are able to listen differently to our partner from a place of empathy, new conversations start happening. And at the same time, the process has the ability to assist in establishing that fine dividing line between making a relationship work and when to acknowledge and say, okay, I should step out of this because it's abuse or verbal incompatibility or mental, physical, emotional, whatever it is. So what happens is when you're able to become very clear and certain and focused about who you are and who you aren't, and understand the value of what you want and understand the disservice of what you are, and bring the two together, that is when you're able to get to that point and say, this relationship can't move forward, or this relationship no longer serves. And that's a very powerful way, without being in a place of feeling guilty and ashamed that you failed, or they're failed, or they're the awful ones, or whatever. So extensively expanding on what doesn't work if both people are similar, and what does work in being in opposition, as much as acknowledging that there is equal service to what does work in being similar as there is disservice in being in opposition. It's finding the balance in both is how these new powerful heartfelt conversations are created. And these conversations create empowering balance in a relationship between the constant manageable oscillations of opposing and complementing. And there's an added extra complication when it comes to romantic relationships, because so much of our physical interactions with the one we're having a romantic relationship with entails fantasy. The sexual act, there's so much fantasy in it. There's so much letting go of what feels like the reality and going somewhere else, and doing it separately and then together, and separately and together. And that whole thing is about changing one's reality within the act of joining together as two as into one. And it's interesting because there are so many things that teach us that we should always be one to be in a happy relationship. Always be one, always be together. But in the circles of life, attraction and repulsion are a part of what makes a relationship pulse. That's the pulsing of a relationship. As you, even the very sexual act itself, as there's this attraction and tension building up within that relationship, and the sexual tension is there, and then you're coming together, and then suddenly you're together, and then suddenly the actual even physical act itself, where the penetration and the in and the out of that is the sexual act, is the attraction repulsion on a more micro level. And then when it all comes to a climax and then it's all spent, there's a form of repulsion, there's a form of pulling away, and the attraction's gone. So the very sexual act is about attraction and repulsion. And within that sexual act is a lot of fantasy. So it's understanding how to balance your everyday life and your expectations of yourself and others, and what those expectations are, whether they've come from fear and judgment, or whether they've come from open-hearted understanding of each other. And that's the difference, is being able to mix that all together to create a most amazing romantic canvas picture, and let it be fluid, and how to make that fluid, and how to reinvent yourselves. I would be so delighted to share this with you at another time and place. If you'd like to know more, I've helped so many couples in their relationships. If you'd like to know more how to step into having these new conversations, these new interactions, these new ways of being with each other that allow yourself to be apart and be attracted and be apart, and speak your truth from the heart, not to be hurtful, but to speak your truth from the heart, because you know it's going to help them and you as a relationship. If you'd like to know how to do that really powerfully, it would be an honor and pleasure. to help you on that road. But in the meantime, I'm just going to give you some first easy steps to move forward with how to already start balancing that fantasy and nightmare. Because what happens is, if you're only in a place where the person's on a pedestal, you're on one side of a continuum, of a cycle. And the other side of that pendulum is going to come in, and you're going to find yourself in a nightmarish situation in your relationship. So the first thing I'm going to help you with is start with the first baby steps of balancing them out. It's not going to get you entirely there. This is a process of practice, and I would be delighted and inspired to show you how to do this over a course of several sessions. I'm actually working with a couple right now who are not looking back since they've started. They're having conversations with each other from such wisdom instead of from fear and judgment. So please do reach out to me. But in the meantime, the first thing you're going to do is get a piece of paper and a pencil. And this is the easy one. You don't need me for this. It could be if you're coming from a place where you just absolutely love the person you're with, but they're puzzling you by some of their actions and reactions, and you're going, it makes me feel so insecure. So that one, you can easily write all the things that you don't enjoy about them. Do enjoy, I'll get it right. Do enjoy about them. If you're coming from this place where you can't bear to see the sight of your romantic relationship partner anymore, and you think, if I could wring their neck, it would be really quite pleasurable. If you're on that side of the pendulum, of the continuum, then you would write down all the things you dislike or maybe even despise about them. So for the other side, you write what you admire or like or admire, or the other one, dislike or even despise. So whichever side you're on, write it down and allow it out, because it's easy to do. Then you're going to do the opposite. So if it's what you admire and like in the person, you're now going to start going, what is it that I don't feel comfortable with? Because we shove it under the carpet in an early part of the relationship and say it doesn't matter. This is amazing. I'm going to concentrate on all that they are, and then it'll make everything all right. So now I'm advising you to start listing what it is. What is it that you don't trust or don't have faith in, either in them or you or in the relationship as a whole? Start writing it down. What doesn't work socially? What doesn't work physically? And not just the sexual act, but write that down too. Start, and I know you're going to say, but that would make it feel so terrible. But this is the start of the balance, so that you allow that part that you're denying to be heard inside you. Start putting it down. What financially doesn't feel quite sound? What within your work and them doesn't? Do they take enough interest? Don't take enough interest? Do they contribute? Not contribute? All those things. Start writing it down. Family, the family dynamics. What's not quite gelling? It doesn't have to be big things, just little things. Just allow them out and allow that part of you that you've buried deep down inside you to be heard. It'll really appreciate you. I promise you, I've done this myself. If it's what you really despise in the person and you've gone to the side of the continuum of not liking them at all, you're going to do the opposite. You're now going to start writing down what you do have faith and trust in, what it is that is working socially, what it is that does work within the family dynamics and financially and with your work and physically and mentally and so on. So you're going to do either one of those lists depending on where you are in your relationship. And then if you go to the one where your relationship is doing well, but there are challenges, then you're going to take the challenges you've listed and you're now going to say, in my not feeling quite safe in this relationship, What's it pushing to happen, either within the relationship or outside of myself, that if my partner and I were thick as thieves, wouldn't work? Now, I'm going to go away from a romantic relationship, but this is something very close to my heart, and I don't often share it, but I'm going to share it today. I had a very, very difficult upbringing, not with my parents, amazing upbringing in Kenya, with amazing parents, mostly, if I'm in balance about it. They weren't perfect. None of us is. But a sibling of mine who was beyond challenging. Now, if they and I had been like this, I wouldn't have become the ballet dancer I became. I wouldn't have been in this line of work because there was huge abuse there, including sexual. It pushed me to become more verbose and express myself more clearly because I really needed to feel safe. They made sure that when friends came around of mine, ridiculed me. So now I became discerning as to who my friends were. I have such amazing friends who were at my wedding 2 weeks ago, really in a place of heartfelt. We were all one at that wedding. It was really amazing. I can thank that sibling. So that's what you're going to start doing, is when not what isn't working, what's it pushing you to do and to become that would be missing if you were like this? And you're going to do it on both sides of that continuum. So whether it's that you've got a great relationship and now you've gone, well, what isn't working? You're going to ask yourself, in it, what is working, what's it stopping from happening? And where it isn't working, what's it pushing you to do and to become? What's it pushing you to do financially? What skills? What's it helping you to feel about money or your work? What are you doing more with your work? Or what are you doing more physically? Are you exercising more? Or are you painting more, reading more, sleeping more, whatever it is that's serving you, because there is dissension there. And you're going to do that whichever side. So if you're feeling compromised by your relationship and you're not liking that person very much right now, you're going to again go, if you were thick as thieves, what would be missing? In this dissension being there, what's pushing you to be and to do? And you're going to take the one where what is working, what is missing by it working. When you start doing that on either sides of those two stories, amazing heart-opening happenings start to occur. And I know this because I've done it time and time again to myself and to many people, thousands of people all around the world for the last 14, 15 years. This is just the first baby steps I've given you. It's the ground. You're preparing the ground to carry on with some more questions that will really get you to go, oh my word, I get the bigger picture on all of this and my heart feels so much lighter. The couple I'm working on, they were talking about their heads feeling less clogged and lighter, and their chests lighter as well. That's an epiphany moment, by the way. That's what happens. Your whole parts of your body start lightening up. It's not always the head and the chest, but for them it was. And suddenly in front of me, they were talking to each other in more softer tones. And it was happening on an unconscious level. They weren't having to say, right, now I must talk more softly and gently with you. That's possible, but when the heart on an unconscious level hasn't caught up with it, it's a temporary step. If you'd like to know how to make this more permanent, please do reach out to me. It would be an honor and pleasure to work with you. And I want to thank you for your attention and interest today, and to say this is an amazing channel. USA Global TV and Radio is growing daily. I'm just so inspired to be a part of this channel. And part of this channel is these Talking Heads episodes with experts on all types of subjects. I mean, there alone is a mine of information, apart from all the other very interesting programs running. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV. And you can find all of the Talking Head episodes from all our experts from all over the world under the playlist titled Talking Heads 2022. And again, please do reach out to me if I may be of service to you. I can't tell you what it does when you reach out and powerfully learn these skills and techniques. They're not like any other I've ever used. If you'd like to get a slice of what I do with myself and with others, please do reach out to me. You can contact me on Jenetta at theepiphanyprocess.com or at www.theepiphanyprocess.com. I would be delighted to chat with you. You're very welcome to book a session with me where we chat about what it is that we can move forward with. It comes with all my love, that first chat. Even that chat shifts people and their responses to the people around them just by chatting with me. So I'm going to suggest you reach out, have a chat with me, and I can't wait to see you in this space again, this time next week, as I send you lots of love. Bye.